Yo, what is up, guys? It's Cohen back here again today with another video. This is normally going to be a recap of the NBA games, a video coming out at this hour. Unfortunately, all the games were blowouts, or almost all of the games were blowouts, other than like Sixers Warriors, which was close for a while, and Nets Trailblazers, which was only decided by 4 points. Every other game was decided by double digits. The closest one was Suns Heat, which was a 10-point game. You had the Nuggets blowing out the Magic, the Lakers getting blown up by the Pelicans, and the Knicks absolutely destroying the Wizards. So not much to talk about in those games. Maybe I'll talk a little bit about them at the end of the video, but I want to focus on the other 3 games: Suns Heat, Nets Trailblazers, and Sixers Warriors, at least for the bulk of the video, if not the whole thing. The main team I want to talk about here, though, is the 76ers and their game with the Warriors they just had. So I'll start off with that. Drop a like, drop a subscribe if you like this type of content, and I'll just go ahead and get into it. Also, yeah, definitely important to subscribe because the trade deadline, 1 day away. I'm going to talk about a lot here in a second, so if you want to hear my reaction to all the trades that are made, at least the bigger profile moves, probably I'll do like a recap of each day of the trade deadline tomorrow and the day after, assuming there are moves tomorrow. We'll see. So you don't want to miss that, so make sure you subscribe. But Sixers Warriors, not a great game. It was very ugly on both sides of the ball. It started off with the Sixers dominating. Sixers fans were on the timeline talking about how they're a contender, they're blowing out a bad team. This is awesome. Keep in mind here, the Warriors did not have Steph Curry. So yes, they are a very, very bad team without Stephen Curry. The 76ers did not have Joel Embiid. They did not have Steph Curry. So they're also missing some guys, but they do have Simmons and Harris. So this is a game they should win, right? Well, for the first half of the game at least, they were dominating. They were up 14 points going into halftime. Wasn't even a close game. I was like, damn, this one's really already over. And then the Warriors outscored the Sixers by 19 in the third quarter and went into the fourth up 5. And Sixers fans were calling for everyone to be traded, everyone from Ben Simmons to calling for the team to build around Tony Bradley on my timeline. Yeah, the Sixers fans were in shambles. And then they ultimately turned it around, outscored the Warriors by 15 in the fourth quarter to win by 10 points. Yeah, it was an ugly win, but it's what good teams do. Good teams win ugly games. They don't end up losing these. The Sixers of years past might have lost this game, but this year's Sixers team isn't going to because they're just better. And there's a lot of reasons why they're better. I'll get into those in a second, but I will give some credit to the Warriors. They made a pretty good run. They could have just lied down and died after they went down by a lot. I think they were down by like 24 at some point in this game. I'm pretty sure that's correct, but they were down by a lot. And the Warriors did not give up. They kept fighting. Great games from Kelly Oubre. Jordan Poole has been really impressive since coming back from the G League. Wiggins didn't play super great, but he did some stuff here and there. Draymond Green put up kind of a signature 6 points, 6 assists, 9 rebounds type stat line. Probably the most disappointing player of the game for them was James Wiseman, who, against Tony Bradley and Dwight Howard, I feel like he should be able to do a lot more, and he just did not tonight. I still think he has a lot of potential, but these are matchups that he needs to learn how to dominate, and he's only halfway through his rookie season. He'll learn to dominate these types of players as he progresses. But this is a game I would have liked to see James Wiseman try and take over a little bit more. He did not shoot well, just seemed kind of timid a lot of the time, only ended up playing 26 minutes, which isn't too bad, but in a game like this where you need a big man to try and dominate without Joel Embiid, he probably should have played more minutes. He just wasn't playing well enough to justify them, so I get it. But yeah, like I said, didn't have Steph Curry. They still put up a decent fight, so that's good for them. And then on the Sixers side of the ball, Tobias Harris, great game, 25, 13, and 4. He's really grown into his own as a closer. He's always been a good player, but for some reason under Doc Rivers, he just seems to play better. I don't know what that's about. I guess Doc Rivers knows how to better utilize Tobias Harris. Maybe it's just a coincidence, but I don't feel like it is. I don't know what it is, but shout out to Tobias Harris for really balling out, and he's just been balling out all season. All-star caliber season from him. Obviously, he didn't make the All-Star game, but in other years where there weren't as many players dominating, he definitely could have. Ben Simmons, 22, 8, 4. Great game from him. Shake Milton, 13 points. Furkan Korkmaz, 12 points. Danny Green, 11 points. It's been weird to see him go from getting like death threats as part of the Lakers after he missed that shot in the finals to being loved by Sixers fans. I see so many Sixers fans, including my brother Ryan, talking about how they don't want to see Danny Green get traded, which is something that a lot of people probably wouldn't have expected coming into the season. So awesome for Danny Green. But this is the part where I want to talk about more than just the game. I want to talk about the Sixers as a whole and the position that the Sixers are in right now in the year 2021. They're in a position to do something special. Now, this isn't because of this game. This is because of the entirety of the season that's led up to this game. But the reason this game is so important is that this is heading into the trade deadline. This is the Sixers' last game before the deadline hits at 3 p.m. Eastern Time on Thursday. I'm pretty sure. 3 or 2, I'm pretty sure it's 3. But the Sixers tonight showed that, yeah, we can beat bad teams, which is something that Sixers teams in the past haven't done. But the players just gel well together. They find opportunities to make runs, they get along, they have these moments where they just look unbeatable. Even when they're playing good teams, not like this bad team, there are moments where the Sixers just look unstoppable. Especially when you throw in Seth Curry, you throw in Joel Embiid, the MVP candidate for this team, Ben Simmons, a Defensive Player of the Year candidate, maybe even the leading candidate. I vary on this. Feels like every night that I watch Gobert or Simmons play, I start to lean towards the other one. So I don't know where I stand on that, but at least top 2 if you're paying attention to the games, I think. Danny Green, like I said, has been really good. Seth Curry has been really solid for them. Backup big. Dwight Howard and Tony Bradley in this game. Tony Bradley, 18 and 11. I need to talk about him more in the context of this game. He was great tonight. Shake Milton's become a great bench scorer. Matisse Thybulle locks you up on the perimeter. This team has so many good players. And this looks like the season where they might put it together. The Sixers for years have been known as a team that has not hit their ceiling. They have been disappointing. And a lot of that has to do with many different things. Poor roster construction was one of them. Poor coaching with Brett Brown being their coach for a while. A bunch of different things. Ultimately, though, this Sixers team has the best record since that Allen Iverson team in 2001 that made the finals. The best record. That's very, very impressive. I think this team might be better than the Jimmy Butler team. And it's not because they have more talent or anything, because Jimmy Butler was super talented, but it's because they fit better and it feels like this team is gelling. And something that's really underestimated a lot of times when you're talking about NBA teams is the way that they gel. You can have all the talent in the world, but if the team and the players don't gel together and they don't fit right in the system, it does not work. And a lot of that has to go, or a lot of that credit has to go to Doc Rivers and Daryl Morey, 2 guys that they brought in this offseason to try and turn things around. I'll start with Doc Rivers. Like I said, he's the Tobias Harris whisperer. He really gets the best out of Tobias Harris, but it feels like he's got guys playing hard. They know exactly what they're doing. A lot of times it felt like some of the Sixers players had no idea what they were doing at times under Brett Brown. It felt like their roles were kind of up in the air every single night. Guys didn't know exactly what their role was. And now under Doc Rivers, guys are being accountable, guys are playing well, and guys know exactly what they're doing on the court. Every single play, every single night, this Sixers team is locked in and engaged. They look hungry. They look like they want what every team wants, and that's a championship. But they want it badly. They're motivated. They're sick of hearing all the things about how they can't win. They want to win now. And that comes also to Daryl Morey, who has done an incredible job of putting them in a position to win now. He dealt Al Horford's contract. Al Horford is still a good player. I know I watch Thunder games, if you couldn't tell from the flag in the background. Al Horford's still a good player, but he didn't fit on this team. And he got Danny Green, a player who fits fantastically on this team. He shoots threes very, very well. He plays good defense, and that's all you need from a guy around Ben Simmons and Joel Embiid. That also brings in Seth Curry, who doesn't play as great of defense, but he also knocks down shots at a very high rate, which is what you need. He brought in a great backup big that the Sixers have been dying to have for so long in Dwight Howard. Tony Bradley even. I'm going to mention him again because he's been so good. Another backup big who's been really solid. This team just looks ready. They drafted Tyrese Maxey, who's been a steal for them so far. And even if he isn't a long-term part of this team, he's a great asset to try and improve this team. And that's when I get to what I mainly want to talk about, and that is the fact that the Sixers right now have to make a decision. When you have a team like this, you need to go all in. You have to make moves. I know this Sixers team is super fun to watch. I know they're good, but you have to go all in, especially when you have the Brooklyn Nets looming there. I think right now it's the Sixers and the Nets at the top of the East. The Bucks are also there. They're also really, really good. But I think right now, at this point in time, it's Sixers and Nets in the Eastern Conference Finals. That's how I see it. And you want to take the Nets down now. This is your chance. In this weird COVID-ridden season, now is the time to try and take down the Nets. Before they have an offseason to get better. Because in this upcoming offseason, they can make so many different moves. They can pick up guys in the draft. You don't want to give them that opportunity. You want to get them now. And there are 2 ways to go about this. The Sixers could either make small moves or big moves. Or a big move and maybe some small moves. That's a hybrid of the 2 of them, but I'll talk about the 2 situations. Small moves include trading for guys like Mike Muscala and George Hill, maybe from the Thunder. Maybe Alonzo Ball, which is kind of like a medium-sized move, I guess I would say. You could go after a Norman Powell, who would be a good bench scorer. Really what they need is backup guards. They need backup guard play. They need scoring off the bench because at times this bench lineup does struggle. If there isn't a starter in, like Ben Simmons or Tobias Harris, the team's going to struggle a lot. And that becomes more difficult when Joel Embiid is out, taking another high-profile starter out of the rotation and leading to more of these all-bench lineups in which they get killed. That was a huge reason why the Warriors went on the run they did in the third quarter today, was because the Sixers played a lot of just bench lineups, and they got destroyed. Even by a bench that's not very good in the Golden State Warriors, they got destroyed. And you can't afford that when you go up against the Brooklyn Nets. You can't give up anything. Or any of these teams in the Eastern Conference. You could talk about Milwaukee Bucks as well and Miami Heat. You don't want to give them opportunities to come back, because they will come back and they'll whoop you. And they'll punch you in the mouth, and you got to be able to hit them back. So, picking up guys like a George Hill, Alonzo Ball, you could talk about a Norman Powell. Those are guys that would really help this team in backup roles, or maybe even some of them would start. Maybe Alonzo would start. I'm not entirely sure how they work that out. Maybe because if Danny Green gets moved, I think he's a guy that will probably get moved if they make one of those medium to higher tier trades. Sixers fans aren't going to love that, but it's just the reality of things. So, yeah. Or you make a big move, and that is Kyle Lowry. Kyle Lowry is the guy that if the Sixers really want to compete, I think they might need to go out and get him. I know that it involves trading Danny Green. It might involve trading Tyrese Maxey. You got to look at that Nets team. That Nets team is crazy. They're so damn good. And I'm not saying the Sixers can't beat them, because I think they can, but you might need some reinforcements. You bring in a championship-winning player in Kyle Lowry, a really good player, a good defender, a good playmaker, a guy who makes his teammates around him better, and your chances of beating that Nets team rise a lot, I think. Now, can I be wrong? Yeah. I think that there's a chance that even without making that big move, with just making those small moves, you can beat the Nets. I think you can. But the Nets are also going to make additions. This Nets team they have right now is not the final Nets team. They're going to make either a trade or two at the deadline, or they're going to pick up someone in the buyout market, and you need to be ready for that reality. And the best way to prepare for that is to bolster your team. And I think Kyle Lowry is the answer. If you don't get him, the Heat are going to get him. And you also don't want the Heat getting him. You don't want more Eastern Conference teams getting better around you. You want to load up right now. This is an arms race. You want to get as many good players as you can to go right at the Nets. You want to try and take them out before they get an offseason to build, before they potentially get Spencer Dinwiddie back if they don't deal him at the deadline, which is a possibility. But you don't want to give them that opportunity. You don't want to give them the opportunity to get a steal in the draft. You don't want to give Nicholas Claxton, who was played great tonight, a chance to continue to develop. You don't want to give KD, Kyrie, and James Harden more time to gel together. You want to hit them right now. Trade for Kyle Lowry. I think that's what they need to do. And I would not be surprised if they do it. I think it's them or the Heat. I don't see Lowry being a Raptor draft at the deadline. I could very much be wrong. I'm not at all an NBA insider, but I think Philly's the spot. I think they need to go for him right now. So that's my take on it. Let me know what you think about the Sixers. Let me know what you think about their deadline position. As for the Warriors, I don't expect them to make many moves. This team isn't going to win a championship no matter what you add to them. And so I think they more focus on moves in the offseason. I think that's their game plan. Maybe Kelly Oubre will get dealt, but I don't see anything too crazy happening with this Warriors team. So now I can talk a little bit about the Suns Heat game and the Nets Trailblazers game. I'll go through these quick because this video is already 13 minutes in. But Suns Heat. Suns, good win for them over a pretty solid Miami Heat team. Really, the Suns are for real. I don't think that anyone should be questioning this. I didn't think they were going to be this good this fast, but they have been. This is another team that could try and go more all in by dealing for another guy or two, but they've been playing so well that I would not be surprised if they didn't. Yeah, I think the Suns might just stand packed on this. I don't know if that's the right decision or not, but they've got time. They've got time to continue building this thing, and we'll see what they end up deciding to do. I don't know. The Suns team is kind of in a more difficult position because there aren't any players out there that directly fill one of their needs. Not like a Kyle Lowry for the Philadelphia 76ers. Yeah, I just don't think that there's anyone available that the Suns are truly in on. I think there was a report that they are probably going to more stand packed, so we'll see if that decision works out in the long run depending on how they play. But yeah, this Suns team is there for real. They're really, really good. The Miami Heat, they need reinforcements as well. I just talked about the Sixers needing reinforcements. The Miami Heat would also benefit a lot from trading for Kyle Lowry, but I think they might benefit more if, and this is kind of a gamble because if he does get traded to Philly, I think he stays there for a little bit. But if you're able to get Kyle Lowry in free agency, I think that's a big pickup because right now you're going to have to give up a Duncan Robinson, who you might not want to pay anyway, so that's understandable, or Tyler Hero. I don't think that they do end up giving up Tyler Hero. I think that would be a huge mistake to give him up for a guy that you could just sign in free agency potentially in Kyle Lowry. So Yeah, that's my thought on that. The reason I would have liked them to trade for James Harden using Tyler Hero is because he's not going to be a free agent, and whatever destination he ended up in, he was going to stay at. So I think the Heat are just going to kind of monitor the Kyle Lowry situation. They'll probably gauge if he is going to get traded. If he doesn't get traded, I wouldn't be surprised if he ends up in Miami in the offseason. Another option they could go for is a Victor Oladipo. I don't know how much he raises their ceiling. He just has to find some semblance of consistency, which he has not been able to do very much this season. So I don't know. We'll see what the Heat do, but they definitely also need reinforcements if they want to try and make a run back to the finals. Nets Trailblazers is the last game I'll talk about. This game was it was close. Shouldn't have been this close, really. The Blazers, this is a game they had to win, and they just didn't. The Nets did not have Kyrie. They didn't have Kevin Durant. James Harden put up another really good performance, putting up a 20-point, 17 assist game. I believe this ties his career high in assists. He's been a prolific playmaker this season. He's always been a prolific playmaker, but tonight he had it on full display. His shots weren't falling, and so he said, okay, I'm just going to get shots for everyone else, and that's exactly what he did. A great game from him. Great game from Nick Claxton, man. I love Nicholas Claxton. I'm glad I was on the bandwagon before a lot of people. Shout out to my friend Caleb. He really got me on the bandwagon before most people are now getting on it, so I've known for a while that Claxton was going to be good. His defensive versatility at his size is incredible, and he's really got the potential to be a problem for pretty much every team. He can guard guards, he can guard centers, he can guard forwards. Anyone you need Nick Claxton to guard, he's going to guard them. The Trailblazers, like I said, had to win this one. Cantor put up a good performance, but they really missed the defensive effort of a Yusuf Nurkic. I don't know what this Blazers team needs. They feel like they need defense. I don't know how they're going to get it. Covington's a solid defender. That's about it in their starting lineup. They need Yusuf Nurkic back badly, and they need to find some way to shore up their defense. I don't know why I said defense like that. They need a way to shore up their defense. Terry Stotts is probably not the answer at coach, but I don't see him getting fired this season, so they're stuck with him. So that being said, that's pretty much all I wanted to talk about. Like I said, the rest of the games are kind of meh, so not much I really want to talk about there. But I will see you guys in tomorrow and the day after for trade deadline coverage. Like I said, subscribe if you want to see more stuff like this. If you want to see more coverage of the NBA and especially the trade deadline, that's coming up real soon. So keep an eye out for that. I'll see you guys later. Real one, say back.